Hello friends, and welcome back to the Gamer Down and Rift Newb Adventures, episode number 13, and this special edition of MMORPG Deja Vu. For those who don't know what Deja Vu is, it literally means seen before, but it also means that you feel like you've been there before, you've done it before. Yeah, I get that feeling of deja vu quite a bit these days. Just riding around, the architecture seems to blend together from the homes here, resembling kind of the Gilneas homes and WoW. But this area of Sanctum, it always reminds me of Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. People always say how Rift has copied so much from WoW, but there's also a lot from Lord of the Rings Online as well. And I was also going to show Age of Conan, but that piece of crap wouldn't even run on my machine anymore. So that was out of the question, and it probably would have made the length of this video ungodly. It's already got pretty ungodly as it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, you know. Like if you looked at the footage I just showed of Sanctum and the architecture and how I said it reminds me of Rivendell. Well, here we are in Rivendell itself. And although the time of day is a bit different, I just get this feeling that I've been here before. I've done this before. Every time I ride through the Sanctum, I think, man, it sure seems like I'm in Rivendell once again. But maybe it's just similar and not the same. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I've just played too many MMOs in my life, and they're all just starting to blend together. Because you see, that's one of my problems I'm having in Rift is, as I'm playing Rift, I'm just having all this deja vu all the time. I'm constantly reminiscing of other games. I mean, not like I want to go play them. I'm just thinking, man, I've done this all before. I've been here before. I've done this before, you know. I guess, you know, maybe I'm like so many others out there looking for the new MMO, the different one, you know, the one that has that thing that we're all looking for now, that restores our adventure and newness to MMOs again. I think we're all just having a lot of deja vu. I've talked to other people and they say they're saying the same thing and feeling the same thing as well. And I'm really regretful I couldn't show some Age of Conan, because I tell you, you know, there's a lot of similarities to a lot of areas in there, from the boats, the junk boats. But here I am in Angmar in Lord of the Rings Online, and I can't help but feel like I'm in Scarwood Reach once again. Or when I'm in Scarwood Reach, I can't help but feel like I'm in Angmar. And even down to the mobs that inhabit the areas, they're the same. I mean, there's spiders and there's harpy mobs, you know, the females with wings, like this one. And it's so, you know, disheartening that there's so little creativity left in games these days, that all of the games are just blending together so much. The textures just seem to look the same, and even though Rift has got much higher graphics quality than WoW or Lord of the Rings Online, even though Lord of the Rings Online has very nice graphics, it's just they all are seemingly the same in so many ways. I mean, here in Scarwood Reach, as I walk around, I can't help but feel like I've done this before and been here before, with the same kind of textures and same types of mountains that surround me. And if you could see Age of Conan, I'm really regretting, but it was just impossible to run Age of Conan. I got the very first blue screen I've ever had in my life on this computer with Age of Conan. And even down to the mobs. How many skeleton warriors have we fought? In how many different MMOs? I mean, is there more? I mean, what more can MMOs do these days? Maybe it's just standard fare. Maybe that's just what people expect these days. Just like they expect zombies and undead. I mean, there's so many undead mobs. I could have spent another 10 minutes on that, just showing you that as well. All of the different types of undead. But here, just alone with the skeletal warriors, I mean, it's in every game. And yeah, you know, they're cool. I mean, we like to fight them. And when you play a lot of MMOs, maybe that's why people don't play a lot of MMOs. Maybe that's why they just stick to one MMO. Because it all just starts to pretty much be the same. You know, from WoW to Lord of the Rings to Rift. It's all, you know, basically one big game. One big game, really. I mean, there's similarities and there's differences. I guess it's the differences that keep people, you know, that make people choose which one that they choose to play. But here I've just went through 3 games with skeleton warriors. And the times we fought them. How many times have we fought skeleton warriors? You know, I know I've fought them a million times myself already. And even just, not even just those 3 games, just hundreds of games probably, including Age of Conan. And how many spooky laboratories have we been to, huh? I know I've been to plenty of them. And how many crazed cultists have we fought? And disembodied spirits have we encountered? I know that there's just so many similarities between MMOs these days that are of the same, like, genre, really. Of, you know, supernatural-ish, I guess. I guess Rift would be... It's not really medieval, I guess you'd say. I guess it's kind of a science fiction-ish type of world. But here we go. Down, down to Goblin Town, down, down to Goblin Town, down, down to Goblin Town. You go, my lad, oh, oh, my lad. I think some of you might remember that song. Oh yeah, here we are in the darkening deeps right now. And it reminds me so much of Goblin Town from Lord of the Rings. The first time I walked in the darkening deeps, I was like, oh, come on. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, where's the mother goblin at, you know? But they did a good job. I mean, this definitely looks much more beautiful than the Lord of the Rings Goblin Town, but it doesn't have the same feel, I might say, because the Goblin Town in Lord of the Rings has this awesome, badass music. Actually, all of Lord of the Rings has very awesome music in every single zone, as you can hear. This is the real Goblin Town. Oh yeah, had to show you that. And I always loved this area in Lord of the Rings, and I definitely love the music. And that's something in Rift is sometimes I hear some really cool music, and then a lot of the other times it's just silent. You know, I mean, I don't know if maybe there's just not very much music to Rift. I don't know. It's definitely lacking. I don't know if there's something wrong with my soundtrack. I'd seriously doubt that. But I've heard other people complain of that as well. I am curious if others out there are also experiencing deja vu as well. And I think credit should be given where it's due. Here, you know, with the UI options and like how you can move them around in Rift, this was taken right smack dab from Lord of the Rings Online. And I just like to give credit where credit's due, and this was one of my very favorite UI systems, and I am kind of glad that they adopted it, though. And they also did a better job. They made where, you know, like you can save, and everything's really cleaner than the Lord of the Rings Online one. But I do think credit should be given where credit's due. And since I showed you the Rift UI, I must show you the Lord of the Rings UI as well. So, yeah, it's been a long time since I played this game, so I had to remember a lot. Trust me, it's been over 2 years since I played Lord of the Rings, and just installing it took quite a few hours. But as you see, the UI, totally identical, almost. Just very few differences. You know, I just think credit should be given where it's due. You know, I mean, I am glad, though, that they copied this UI system. This is one of my favorite ones, but I do hope they add add-ons eventually, because Rift really, you know, if it's going to go as far as copying so many games, it needs to go ahead and go the whole 9 yards and go ahead and just accept the whole load and just add add-ons and add all the things people want, because people want them. And crafting in all these games, you know, it's all the same. I mean, can anything differently be done? Or am I destined to have deja vu forever? It's all basically get the components to make such and such item. And it's like that for every single game there is. Every MMO there is, at least, where crafting's involved. But what else can really be done? Maybe crafting should just be done away with. I mean, do people really even want it anymore? I guess it has its place. I mean, it has to be good, though. And the crafting in Rift, I'm not too happy with. Every item I can craft sucks ass, you know. And there's nothing in my Armor Smith recipe book that looks worth a damn to me. And you know, you look at the same panels here in WoW, and it's the same as in Rift. Just Rift's is a little bigger. I mean, does anybody else out there have deja vu? Any ex-players of WoW and Lord of the Rings and so many other MMOs? I mean, these are just the ones I'm bringing up. I've played every MMO there is, basically. It's part of my job of what I do, reviewing games, and maybe that's why I have deja vu, because I play so many games. Maybe that's why I'm asking these questions to you guys. I wonder, are there others that are playing Rift now that are thinking, you know, I've been here, I've done this before, and I'm doing it again. Should I continue to keep on doing it? Should I continue to wander through the desert regions of one game and just, you know, wander in the desert regions of another game? And why are they keep putting these desert regions in? I effing hate desert regions, and most everybody else hates the damn desert. If you got to put one in, make it little. Nobody wants to spend all day in these damn desert zones. They just suck ass, and nobody wants to be in them. Nobody. And they just put them in every single game. I mean, what's the difference between walking through one desert region and in one game and in another MMO? I mean, you know, if there's so many fanboys of games and people get so on the fence about how my MMO is so much better than your MMO, when they're all so similar. They're all so similar. I mean, we're all basically doing the same thing in all these games. I mean, and each one has its different qualities that they do it better. You know, that's just how it is. Such as the graphics in Rift, they're definitely a lot higher quality than WoW. That goes without question, of course. But you know, you still have that deja vu feeling, and If I'd only gotten Age of Conan up, there's an area that looks so damn similar to this one. I mean, you'd just freak out. Oh god, I wish I could have got that going, but that was a no-go. I hated Age of Conan, and I had problems with it at its release. And it looks like they didn't do anything to improve that game over the years. It's worse than ever now, and like I said, it won't even run on my machine anymore. Very sad indeed. But minus like the rifts, you know, aren't all these areas the same? You have your desert area, you have your snow areas, you have all the different areas that are all the same. The forest areas. I guess there's only so many different climates you can choose from. Even down to the mobs, you know. What do we have in all these areas? They are either scorpions or snakes or something very similar to that. Yeah, you know, there's so much similarity in so many of these games. I mean, at least WoW does have some, you know, interesting mobs, you know, when it comes to their lore with the gnomes and such. I mean, that's one thing about WoW I think is a lot more well developed, is the lore. And the Rift lore is just a little bit too out there, a little too iffy, and there's not a lot of hooks like the hooks that WoW has, you know. I mean, there's so many different races in WoW and things to like, and, you know, I'm not trying to say that WoW is better, but, you know, it is a damn good game. You know, it just is. I mean, I'm not even playing WoW anymore, but I think, you know, that the truth of the matter has to be that WoW isn't a very good game. It's just a dated game. I mean, Rift is brand new, but, you know, it's missing so much from the lore and things, and the questing. Oh god, the grinds. Oh, I don't think I'm going to handle those grinds too well. I'm not handling them well already. Of course, WoW has had 6 years to polish their game and develop their lore and build on their lore, think about their lore, and all that. So, I can't fault them for that. At Lord of the Rings, their lore was already there. And welcome to Hobbiton. I mean, yeah, Moonshade Highlands. Yeah. You know, salute to Hobbiton out there. Because you know, and I know, that this is Hobbiton. You know, I mean, we've been here, and I just get so many places in Rift. I just having this deja vu. I'm thinking, God, I mean, did they just take every single MMO there was and put it together? I mean, I guess that could be on paper a good idea, but if you're a long-time player of the games, then you're gonna see, you know, what I see. I've been here, I've done it, I've been here and did it. You know, I've been there, done that. I'm not sure if I want to do it again. You know, I'm just not really sure if I want to grind in another MMO again. I mean, I left so many other MMOs because it just got so boring. And what bored me was the grinding. That's what bored me. And Rift is already grinding so much all over the place, and that's what the future looks like. Speaking to others, more grind for your time, for your dime. Now, if these buildings were just a tad bigger, you'd probably think you were in Moonshade Highlands. But no, this is Michael delving in Lord of the Rings Online. And it's a little bit happier than Moonshade Highlands, that's for sure, and the graphics, they aren't as good as Rift, that's for sure. But, you know, I mean, standing next to those houses, and then, you know, like from Lord of the Rings, and then standing next to the houses in Moonshade Highlands, I'm just overwhelmed by deja vu so much. And I've mentioned it 1,000 times in this video about deja vu, and it's just so weird playing Rift and constantly feeling that feeling everywhere I go. I'm thinking, you know, it's just a trip. It's such a trip to experience it constantly in Rift. And I guess it's because I also have a very good memory. I've always been blessed with a good memory, and I remember even like whole days from my childhood. So remembering events in video games, I remember them very clearly, and they seem to blend together at times. Such as the architecture in so many of these games, and the architecture here in the Sanctum is so similar to the architecture in Rivendell. Even down to the design patterns and the texture patterns on the floor. I mean, I'm serious that the diamond-shaped patterns, I've seen those, and here in Rivendell, you know, you just get that feeling that you're in the Sanctum for some reason, or vice versa. I mean, you're in the Sanctum, and I just keep having this feeling that I'm in effing Rivendell. I'm looking for Elrond. I'm looking for Frodo. I'm looking for Bilbo. You know, I just maybe I'm just not into the lore of Rift enough, or maybe I'm just too saturated with years and years and years of lore from just so many games. And Lord of the Rings, that was like one of the very first books I ever read in my whole life. When I was a little kid, I was a gigantic fan of Lord of the Rings, and still am, always will be. And I remember watching The Hobbit, the cartoon that came on television, and man, I just was so overwhelmed. I was like, man, this is the most badass thing ever, and I'll always love that cartoon as well. But I just, maybe it's the saturation of all these years of all the different lore. There's only so many elves and so many goblins in this world, and maybe they just all start to blend together into one. And be it a desert region or a snow-filled region, a mountain path, just all these MMOs start to blend in together. The scenery seems to just all blend in together. You're riding down a road covered in snow. I just have been here before. Maybe not riding a turtle, but I've been on an icy road before. Even the names in Rift are generally just about one word off from the original name, like such as Iron Peaks. I mean, in Lord of the Rings, there's the Iron Hills, of course, and in WoW, there's Iron Forge. So, not only the scenery, but the names and the places and the models and the graphics and the textures, they seem to blend together so much sometimes that, I guess you just really just have to pick what MMO you want to play and want to stick with. What are the things in your MMO that appeal to you and make you want to continue to play it? Because they all, every single effing one of them, end in a grind. They all end in grinds. So it's just a matter of who you stick with. I mean, is it maybe the people you meet in the MMOs? I mean, that's something that has kept me in MMOs before, is I had really good friends and I didn't want to leave them. So I stayed in that MMO, or I kept my sub up just to talk to them. Under the mountain dark and tall, the king has come into his hall. I'll try not to sing too much, but every time I get on Lord of the Rings, I always remember those songs, those awesome songs. The ones that I remember as a kid from The Hobbit. Yeah, you remember them. If not, then you need to go check them out on YouTube. I believe that the whole series is long. But yeah, even, the mobs in such areas here in the Misty Mountains. I mean, you got the same thing as you find in so many snowy areas. And even, the gathering is so similar. So damn similar. It just really is. I mean, all the gathering is identical. You look at your mini-map and you go and click on it. So, I don't know what point I'm trying to make with this. it's just, this deja vu has been killing me, so I figured that I'd make a video, just kind of showing why I'm having so much deja vu. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my head, I don't know. Even down to the clippity-clop of my horse's hooves, you know, I have that feeling of deja vu. You know, it's like the same sound effect almost. You know, I guess there's only so many variations of a horse gallop or trot that you can really make, and I'm sure that they all sound pretty much the same, so how do you make that different? Well, I guess you really can't. But that gives me such deja vu, being on a mount and riding and hearing that same sound. It's like fading in and out between games. Kind of like how these videos, I've put them together, like kind of how the games in my mind are put together. And if the graphics weren't so nice here, you probably would have thought, oh, you were in the Badlands of WoW. And I even do the same thing here that I do in the Badlands, and that's mine. And I was trying to get my skill up here. It was such a nightmare in Rift. I don't know why they chose to make gathering such a horror, especially mining. I mean, there's just so few nodes. You have to fight your way to every single node. It's just a chore and a half. You're better off just sitting on one node, one mine spot, and just waiting for the damn crap to respawn. It's a lot faster than riding around and trying to find one and fighting your way through so much bullcrap. But anyway, even the colors, you know, the reddish dirt, doesn't that remind you of the Badlands? You know it, I know it, the American people know it, that Scarlet Gorge is indeed the Badlands. Unfortunately, it's 1,000 times worse to navigate, and I could go the rest of my life without going back to Scarlet Gorge. I had to make the sacrifice to get my mining up, and it was just such a chore, such a pain and a grind. I would not want to do it again, and there doesn't seem much point anyway. I mean, like I said, the professions are just too crappy. There's nothing really worthwhile. All of the grinds to get the rare recipes are unbelievable. There's been somebody who said they've looted 25 of the artisan crafting rewards for the dailies, and they've never got one single epic out of it, and you need many just to get one recipe. So yeah, pain in the ass, big pain in the ass. So does it really matter what MMO you choose? Does it really even matter? I think what only matters is, are you having fun? You know? I mean, that's the only thing that really matters. It doesn't matter what MMO you play. I mean, even the death is the same these days. I mean, the death in WoW is just like Rift. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, but I was hoping they could have come up with some better system. I mean, this is just copy and paste right here. I mean, down to the return to the graveyard symbol at the top, you know. It's just totally identical. I mean, there's just, you know, a few graphical variations, but the whole concept, the whole idea is identical. Like so many things in Rift that they've taken from WoW, it's identical. So, you know, why play one then not the other? You know, I mean, why play Rift? Just because of the graphics? I mean, the graphics are damn nice, and they are really easy on the eyes. And going back to WoW, you can really see the datedness despite the cataclysm. So I guess as I ride the roads from one spooky zone in one MMO to another spooky zone in another MMO, I will ponder, am I having deja vu? And I will have deja vu because I am having deja vu. Because there are so many similarities between all these different games. And these are just 3 games. 3 of the most popular MMOs around. Well, you know, there's a lot of degrees of popularity, but they're still around. These MMOs are still kicking. Some are new, some are old, but oh, they are quite alike in so many ways. And when you play one, it's, you know, you get the sense that you're playing the others in so many ways. And it is quite a regret. Once again, I'll mention that I didn't get any Age of Conan footage, but you know, they were onto an idea. Age of Conan was onto an idea. They had a new slant on combat for their MMO, and it just never kicked. That ability. Yeah. As you see, the combat in WoW is totally identical to Rift, down to the 5-point system for our rogue in Rift. Anyway, this has been a Deja Vu special for the Gamer Down, and I'm your host, Dark Hostess. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe and thumbs up videos.